So, is it okay to start or should we wait for? Okay. Good evening, good morning. Um, Welcome to the fifth iteration of our conversations here at Mumala Gallery as part of Is There a Room with Just a Color? An exhibition that is talking about 256 million colors of violence, which is an online project and can be accessed at www.256millioncolorsofviolence.com. I'm very happy to be speaking today with Palash Mukhopadhyay. Palash is a UX developer and a self-professed wordist. Palash has been working on this project for the last 3 years along with me, where we have gone through several iterations, working right from the beginning of the project in 2016 to now its final third version in 2020. And today we'll be talking about several things, but largely looking at the idea of a new kind of an internet and what this project, in a way, apart from its stated intentions of looking at violence as a construct of our society and color as a form of representation and creating a new vocabulary of color to explain the nuances of the violence that surround us. The interest of the project, or the underlying interest of the project, has also been to look at online structures, the infrastructures which are technical, legal, mind map-like, rooted in internet protocols, and generally what we understand to be a certain kind of an architecture of control, what has become an architecture of control. To confront all of this through some kind of a prototype or a project which says that, okay, here is a possibility of a new kind of an internet to exist. And so, welcome Palash, and maybe we can start talking about the project from your perspective of being here in Helsinki now for the last 10 years, and working primarily as a UX developer, as a web designer, and generally having a very specific insight into the ways the internet functions here in Helsinki, or emerging from a Helsinki specific location of industry. What would you say are the current issues that we are dealing with vis-a-vis the internet today?
Well, I think one of the most crucial issues is this invasion of privacy and this you being tracked across the internet by various agencies, by various entities, and being kind of herded into these walled gardens where your data is does not belong to you anymore. It's sold, it's broadcast, it's changed hands, and even if these services say they don't sell your data, what they are selling is your attention. They are selling your eyeballs, and ultimately at the end of the day you are the product that is being sold, and it's being sold for the highest bidder. And that's inevitably the case. So most online services tend to make their money their bread and butter out of that, out of selling you and your data. And the alternative is that you pay for the service.
Right.
In which case you are assured of privacy, you are assured of your data being safe. But we have been brought up on this diet, of this sugary diet of free services for so long that it's getting difficult to turn that off.
Right.
And as a result, people don't even bother to read. They don't bother to read the terms and conditions which say that your data belongs to somebody else for perpetuity, and they can do what they want with it, sell what they want with it, take your pictures, your videos, your spoken word, your written word out of context and use it however they deem fit. And it's quite scary.
Yeah. And just to kind of also go back to one word that you used, selling your eyeballs. Could you also then, or could we talk about this idea of what the eyeball economy or the attention economy is and how it functions, just to clarify a concept that may be unfamiliar to some people?
Yeah, I mean, you are tracked across services, and depending on what you click, what you read, those are tied into ads, and you are sold ads, targeted ads, which pressure you to view and to buy and like prompting you towards products that need to be sold or services that need to be sold. And it doesn't matter at the end of the day how many people actually end up clicking through, but the ads are relentlessly shown to you. And even services where you're expected to read, your reading does not happen distraction free. You're ad bombed, and like all the things we detest about the internet, the pop-ups, the banner ads, the sliders, the accepting terms and conditions, they're all at the end of it this. And even if there's legislation to control this, I mean, the GDPR came out as a way to protect an individual's data, to let people withdraw consent once consent was given to use the data, but and to be able to scrub your user data from services and all of that. But instead of helping people, it's just become another like token law, because the implementation of it was done in a manner that it became very easy to circumvent.
Right.
It's very easy for somebody to say that here are cookies, if you don't allow them on your laptop or on your computer, I will not let you into my site.
Right.
There are quite a few publications online which don't even service Europe, for example, after the GDPR happened, because they simply don't want to comply with it. So that content is effectively blocked out for us.
Right.
And also, again, to go back to the thing of giving consent, and statistically probably less than 1% actually read the terms and conditions. So when you are served a banner saying allow all cookies or deny, most people just click the brighter button which says allow, and they are in there, and they have agreed, and consent has been given with a click, but not too many people bother to read.
Right. So on one hand, you started with talking about how there is a certain kind of data farming that happens, which is in itself problematic. That data is, and all manner of data is is taken, often now with consent even, but more often than not without consent, through certain algorithmic structures that are built into the internet as we know it. But secondly, once this data is taken, it is used then against us to create user-specific internet. So in effect, what then happens is that filter bubbles or echo chambers are created, where we are looking at a portion of the internet or a custom-made internet which only reverberates our own likes and dislikes, and
it reinforces your thinking, and it reinforces your prejudices, it reinforces your biases.
Right.
So you only ever get to live in that mirrored room where everything's reflecting your views.
Right.
And you don't get to see the other side of the conversation. And so you tend to dismiss it as it's non-existent, it's fake, it's not real, because for you the amount of reinforcement that is provided to you of your own views kind of legitimizes it.
Right. So in a sense then the data farming and then the filter bubble are two sides of the same coin, and to perpetuate it, it has become now a design problem for most content creators online.
Yes.
How to circumvent the laws that are made to create an impartial and bias-free internet. How to circumvent it in order to perpetuate or further the way we have now understood the internet 2.0 as an economic force.
Yeah, and it is difficult. I mean, when the internet was originally envisioned outside of its defense applications, it was envisioned as a utopic open space,
right,
like a sort of commons where things were open, things were equal, there was no bias, everything was acceptable, a principle which we know today as net neutrality. But that did not come to be. I mean, there are still islands, little pockets of openness, like Wikipedia, like OpenStreetMaps, which have open, accessible, free, fair content, accessible by everybody. But then, what increasingly they find it difficult to survive under the onslaught of wealthier sites which can use their deep pockets to push a certain kind of agenda, push a certain kind of content to you. It's very difficult for open services to make money at the end of the day and to survive.
Right. So then we're now again going into a space where, taking from the first generation of the internet, this idea of John Barry, what's his name, who said that, who wrote the manifesto for cyberspace, who said that governments and corporates have no legitimacy or no space in the cyberspace. Was it John Barry Barlow? Anyways, sorry. But moving from that kind of idea of the cyberspace and the internet of that time as being this force for a certain kind of a political, socio-economic freedom, to now where we are looking at a certain kind of neoliberal capitalist and an individual-based capitalist model of working, where the way the internet functions is no longer based on value systems of collective action and collective being, or of collectivizing, but of being looked at as a space for economic value production.
Yes, and like the internet was posited as this place where everything would be good and anybody could be whatever they felt like. But then there of course came in regulations, because of course there was the rise of violence. There was wherever there's a there's a majority and a minority. Human beings tend to pick on the minority, and no matter of which minority we speak, whether it's like philosophical minority or economic minority, it's a minority. And as a result, there came laws to safeguard those, and but as with laws, there are always loopholes. There are ways around, and people have increasingly found ways around it. That's what it has come to now. That it is increasingly serving a few individuals in power who control a vast tracts of what we call the internet, and a lot of it is not free. You might think it's free, but what is actually being sold again is due.
And also this idea that the internet is widely understood to be this singular body of a single thing that spans across the globe. But in many ways, the internet is broken up also geographically. I mean, apart from what you said, that it is that large tracts of it are owned by individuals or individual corporations. Even laws that govern the rules of the internet and what is permissible, what is legal, and what is allowed, even on the internet, are largely now geographically broken up into what the first generation of internet users would have never imagined. That the internet and the cyberspace would also be governed by national and communal or ethnic boundaries and agendas. Very well said. So how does then, and now maybe we talk about the project, how does a project like 256 Million Colors of Violence that seeks to project itself or maybe forward a certain kind of a prototype of how a new kind of an internet could look like? One which is free, open access driven, and ultimately is not interested in the economics of how the internet otherwise functions. What do you imagine as a practitioner of user experience platforms and as a person who has been working with online spaces now for the last 10 years, what do you think of the potential of a project like this?
Well, in this project as well, data is of primacy, and but the way we are going about collecting the data is through informed choices and through informed consent. We don't have very complicated terms. We have a simple one-pager, and we do not share identifying information. We are an ad-free platform, which we do not monetize our data. So in that sense, that already is quite different from a vast majority of websites out there. We seek to mine the data to understand certain topics better. We propose that the process of the data mining itself makes you question your stance, your views. So in that sense, this project for me is more about holding up a mirror to yourself and letting you introspect a bit as to what exactly are you sharing with the web, what exactly are you telling about yourself, and conversely what that tells about you. So, and as far as my approach to the project, well, it was less philosophical, more analytical. I approached it more or less as any product design assignment, and it was it almost didn't happen. There were many free services online. Again, free. I use the word with care. They would farm some data, but free services online that simply didn't have a good color picker, and that led to the genesis of actually writing things from scratch and rolling our own service, and then delving further into what do we do with the data, and how do we handle the data, and how do we keep it safe and keep it private, and all of those decisions. So the website as a digital product, or as a digital artwork, through its transformation over these 3 iterations, has been through an analytical thinking process of that.
Right.
It has, the first iteration was fairly colorful, and with every subsequent iteration we have stripped back the colors to let the participants' views color the project, in a manner of speaking. So.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm also asking this as a person who has been very intimately familiar with the process of how the project has developed, and seeing the way now over 200 participations across the years that we have been working on it, and reading or looking at or being familiar with the way in which people have looked at the structure of the project, what it affords them, what it allows them, and the way it allows for many of the stories to kind of come across and come out from their process of going through these questions. Would you like to maybe say something about that less analytical, more emotional quotient component of the work?
Well, I think also, like, the newest, the freshest iteration of the project is also its most accessible. It explains a lot of the content within its archives. So within the archives that you build for every question, all those explanatory notes make it much more easy in a way, but also a much more thoughtful exercise to select an option. Nobody would now select an option trivially just for the heck of it. Nobody would, like, to go with one of the first questions, the prefix to your name. I mean, if you were just going to add a title of the Duke to your name for fun, now you can actually read through what a Duke actually is, and why that title was given, and to whom it was given, and what kind of history and connotations come with that. So in that sense, I think this iteration of the website actually allows you to introspect and be a lot more informed as to the choices that you take, and hopefully that then extends into other spheres of your interaction with the web or with even day-to-day life, where you examine things a little more, you read the labels a little more before just picking or jumping at one because it catches your fancy.
Right. So maybe then to paraphrase it in a way where earlier we were talking about data, but now we are also talking about how that facilitates a certain kind of knowledge of one's own self, but also of the world that we inhabit.
Yeah.
And would you like to maybe, and we spoke about this before, so just to maybe segue that into it.
The distinction between data and knowledge building and I mean, at the end of the day, data is inanimate. They are just entities. They become knowledge through action taken on them, and without the action, they just remain data points, and they are either real or unreal, true or fake, and some more valuable than other, but they just remain there. But when you take action on them, when you choose to act with that data in your mind or in your consciousness, that's when you process that data into knowledge, and that drives. There's that symbiosis between knowledge and action, informed by that data, and then if that data which originally informed you was wrong or fake, then well, you are then caught in another kind of cyclical thing where you're imbued with a fake worldview, and you're caught in that. And it's difficult to distinguish in today's world.
It's very interesting that now we kind of come to this word fake because we're also now more than ever inhabiting a world where the world that we are surrounded by is as much formed by fake news, and fake news and this is something that Arundhati Roy also talked about in one of her lectures, that what really defines our times is fake news, not just as pieces of individual news, but in its largest iteration as fake history. And currently the right, the political right, has embarked on a project of generating and cementing a certain kind of fake history, which is more convenient, more conducive to their political beliefs and actions, and also convenient in the sense of propagating a certain kind of future that they envision for themselves. So how can then again, and I'm coming back to the idea of a new internet, how can there be a certain level of accountability and criticality that may be embedded into the way in which we construct the internet from now onwards?
So again, then going back to the open centers, our centers of open knowledge, those should be strengthened and further, and those should then become repositories of this. And while I don't like to use the term gatekeepers, but they should be, in a way, gatekeepers of human consciousness, in a way. Conscience, human conscience. That is what I was getting at. They should be sort of the gatekeepers of human conscience. So that things are true, and it is not an easy thing to do. And also, to counter this kind of fake histories, journalism is now slowly evolving into this tool of their own, which they're calling speculative journalism, which builds speculative, fictionalized accounts of the near future, which are informed by true histories. So this kind of seeks to work against this fake history and present continuum which has been propagated by fake news. So kind of using storytelling as a way to fight a different kind of storytelling.
And maybe now just to pick on one of the things that you said, but how does one say that because even fake history or fake news is not presented as fake news.
Of course.
It's presented as a truth of its own or an alternative fact. And a large part of the decolonial project has been to revive certain truths that were made invisible by hegemonic structures, power structures of the stronger, and to really examine histories and our present in ways which seek to be more equal or equalizing.
Yeah.
In that context, when fake news is slipped in as another alternate history or the alternate truth or a fact of its own, how does one differentiate?
Well, at the end of the day, fake news seeks to keep in power a certain kind of power structure. And that kind of power structure is what going back to the neoliberalism and the capitalism outlook that we spoke about, it seeks to keep those in power. It seeks to perpetuate that kind of power and political structure in the world. And to fight against that, it requires decentralization, it requires empowering the weak, it requires discarding economic growth for the sake of growth. And that is not a very easy step to take, and it is a step that requires a certain kind of courage from political leadership. And it also takes a certain kind of courage to bring that kind of political leadership into power, which involves reading and examining your own belief systems and figuring out where do you stand in the world, and do you wish to empower the weak, do you wish to equalize, do you wish to agitate against these kind of power structures.
So maybe I can plug in the project again by saying that a lot of what you're talking about is essentially examining your own the various identities that you profess to embody, and to really examine it in a way that is critical to the world that you would want to make into a reality, as we are making a world into reality all the time.
Want your children to inherit.
Yes, and that is what the project seeks to do, for essentially to allow participants to examine the identities that they imagine that they embody, and to reflect on it in the context of the violences. This sounds like a very comfortable space for me to let things be, but if you would like to maybe ask some questions, or maybe if you want to say something that I have not asked.
No, well, for me, participating in this project itself, I mean, it began as just on a whim, but then it has grown into something that has taken quite a few days and nights away from me, and something which I've enjoyed doing. And through the process, it has taught me a lot. It has taught me a lot, both technically in my domain, in my skill, but also taught me a lot in terms of knowledge. And it has made me re-examine my own beliefs in certain things and my own misinformations. And I don't think I look at things quite the same. I read a little more in between the lines thanks to this, and of course thanks to conversations with you, which are always welcome and always nice.
Thank you. Well, I must say that the project was something that was in my mind for a very long time, and I don't think that it would have moved from being a conceptual idea of a project or a work and moved into being a reality and an online experience the way it has without your inputs and all the uncountable hours that you have put into it. And thank you so much for being a part of the journey.
Thank you. Pleasure is entirely mine.
Well, on that note, I think we can end the conversation. We have not been able to create any structure for receiving questions right away, but if there are any questions or any feedback, any thing that you would like to know more about, please write to us either on our Facebook page, 256 Million Colors of Violence, on our Instagram page, again 256 Million Colors of Violence, or just email us at 256millioncolorsofviolence.com. Yeah, we're very consistent that way, and really hope that you will participate, share widely the project, and get in touch with us, because there's a lot to be done still.
Yeah, and we promise not to share your data.
Thank you.
Thank you.